Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Chat Inbetween podcast. It is good to be here in this space with you. And we have a special guest today from the church, and his name is Garrett Browne. Hi, Garrett. How you doing?
Evening, Matt. Evening, everybody else.
How you doing? All right?
I'm good, thank you. Just getting through these tough times.
Yeah, it's not easy. Have you found it tough or mixed bag, or how have you been doing?
I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work all the way through it, but it's just like Groundhog Day, coming home every day doing the same thing, and there's nothing else to do apart from TV.
Yeah.
You know, the kids are bored of it. I'm bored of it. Zena's bored of it, and be good when it's done.
Have you had the vaccine yet? Have you had any?
Yeah, do you know what? None of us has caught COVID. Me and Zena have both had our vaccinations. We're just waiting for our second one.
That's good.
So none of us have caught.
I think there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, it feels like, unless we get some.
There is, but I think like we're never to go asleep around this stuff because it's there. Yeah. I don't think it's ever going to be gone.
Yeah.
I just think the world's going to get to learn how to cope to live with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, in the news this week, it's been like Italy's locking down a little bit more again. Germany's locking down again. And I know they're not so far ahead on the vaccine, but it just shows you, doesn't it, the waves of of how this thing keeps coming. As we open up, it impacts us again, and as we open up. So it'd be interesting.
But it was like last time when we opened up. We opened up and never thought we'd get locked down for Christmas. And it came. And now that we've come out of that, and we're going to be opening up again, it just opens up other things, doesn't it?
It does.
Different areas for the virus to attack or whatever.
Yeah. It feels like they've done it a bit better this time, though. It feels like it's a bit more of a careful pathway.
Yeah.
You know, especially getting the schools in first and then this in and this in, just to test the waters and push a little bit.
I don't think they've done, they've done little things different, but I'm outside every day, and not a lot of people look like they've changed. When I've been to work and I've drove through Gloucester Road, people just out and about without masks. They're just like, there's not a lot of people, and there's still people who don't believe in COVID, who say, nah, it's not real.
I know, it's crap, because I think next weekend is the 1 year anniversary of when we first, March the 22nd is the anniversary, I think, next weekend.
Yeah.
It's been a year of craziness. It's ebbed and flowed for me. I've had some really positive things, and then I've had some really down times.
Yeah.
You know, I do think you're right. The groundhog at this time, from January to when the kids went back Bethany, by the end of that, it was lit. You know, the music off Groundhog Day. Every time. It's like, oh, it wears you down. It wears you down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy.
But you've not, do you know people who've had COVID? You know?
Yeah, I know people who've had COVID. Do you know what I mean? And I know, not that I know a lot of people who've died from it, except obviously, God rest his soul, Nick, his father and stuff like that. And there has been other people. Victor's had it. My mate Victor's had it. His girlfriend and their kids, they all had it. Do you know what I mean? My aunt in Ireland's had it. So I know it's like the last time. It's like, what is going on? The first time we went into lockdown and like everybody was doing like the gym on telly every morning, and you're kind of thinking, oh, what is this? Is it true? Is it not true? Is it true? Kind of didn't really know.
Yeah.
But this time you did, you know it's there. Do you know what I mean? And the funny thing is, there was this thing on Facebook where a couple of nurses had a little banner thing saying, for those of you who don't believe in COVID, please apply to do service in the church of bagging up the dead for us.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
It's like people are dying.
I know. And it wasn't it. The same amount of people died from sort of December to February than they did in the whole of the previous last year. He just like
Yeah.
bonkers numbers. It's massive numbers, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, Garrett, if people don't know Garrett who are listening, is part of the recovery group that we have at church. We've got a few people who are deep into recovery. How many years have you been in recovery, Garrett?
This should be my 13th year, May the 1st, 13 years.
Really? That's incredible.
Yeah.
And obviously, all the way through, you've been involved with the recovery group.
Yeah.
And how do you feel COVID's impacted people's recovery or attempt to recovery? Has it been a big impact?
I think it's been a strain. Some people have relapsed, but the thing with like the fellowship that I'm part of, the moment the COVID lockdown came up, somebody come up with a solution with Zoom, and there's been so many meetings on, but like there's people who've come into the fellowship that have never been there will not know what it's like to actually be in a room with people in physical meetings, which is much more beneficial because the unity there is more special.
Sure.
So I mean, for someone like me, it was like okay to start with, but I'm bored of it now.
Yeah.
Zoom's
tiring. It's tiring.
Yeah, I'm bored of it. Do you know what I mean? I've done so many different things on Zoom, on like the computer that. You know, computers for only Facebook and stuff.
No, it wears you down. It's hard work. Yeah, it's a totally different relationship with especially if you've got a group. On your recovery groups, how many people would be in the square windows on Zoom?
On Zoom. Normally, do you know what? There's been some massive meetings with hundreds of people on the meetings.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's really, at times it didn't feel authentic. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, but then again, it was easy. And the off-putting thing about it is that you sat in your front room, you can constantly go to your own fridge. There's things that get in the way. Or if someone's watching telly, you got an eye on the telly. Whereas in a meeting, you're in the meeting and you're focused. Do you know what I mean?
Full attention.
Yeah, and then you get the before and after stuff in the meeting where people do a little bit of fellowship and it's
Oh, that's the oddest thing in the world. Trying to have a social on Zoom.
Yeah.
No way. It is so difficult. If you've got more than 3 windows open, everybody's talking over each other, or everybody doesn't quite know when to talk to. It's an incredible. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? The difference. It's the same for church as well, isn't it? I mean, what you realize is, even though we have been doing physical church as well as online, it just does not replace. It doesn't replace what the normal.
No, it don't.
It just doesn't.
No, I don't think it ever can.
No, it can't.
What we have to go on in some kind of way, and it is just a little solution for the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen people like that I normally saw since March last year.
Yeah.
Because it's just like we come home and we don't go out.
It's incredible. Until about 2 months before COVID broke lockdown, it's just an incredible thought, wasn't it? That this thing, we weren't even aware of the possibilities, were we, really?
No, you wasn't. Do you know what I mean? But there's lots of stuff that since COVID has happened that you're more mindful about, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that you really do have to appreciate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I made the error this afternoon, Garrett, of watching Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
I love the film. It's a great film. But obviously there's a lot of things about mums in it and kids. And honestly, I did myself in emotionally. I'm absolutely a wreck. Because, I haven't seen my mum since September last year. And, got in touch with her on Messenger and did all the right things for her today on Mother's Day. But watching that today, oh my life, I was, I'm a wreck, mate. I'm a wreck.
Well, I'm probably a bit hardened at the moment because I've been watching Vikings all day,
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
day.
So yeah. How have you?
I've eaten food, had a little Facebook, and my kids left at 12. Their mum come to pick them up,
Yeah.
and then yes, I've been watching Vikings.
Binging Vikings.
I've got it on pause at the moment, like just waiting for me to go back into my assumed role of sitting and
Good.
watching.
Oh, I think it's great though, isn't it? I mean, they're an amazing series, these things. But at least you're going into tomorrow like, rah, I'm gonna kill COVID. I'm going into tomorrow like, oh, Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
It absolutely killed me, honestly. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks, Garrett. Honestly, it's brilliant. So we're just going to get to know you with a few questions. So the first question is, have you got any phobias?
Not really. The only thing I think that the phobia that I would have is when I think about it is really, really tight, close spaces.
Yeah.
I'm talking about coughing closed spaces or
yeah.
When I see those people climbing through mountains, little tight, skinny spaces.
Oh, the cavers.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that. Do you know what I mean? I'm all right with heights. I'm all right with spiders, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it would be really tight, close spaces.
Is that linked to anything that happened to you in the past?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No.
My big brother used to put the duvet over my head and squash me on the bed. My big brother, yeah. And I don't like that. I couldn't. That's one of my things. Because Heather goes caving. There's no way I would squeeze to underneath the ground for fun.
No.
I
don't think I could do it because I just think to myself, what if you got stuck?
Yeah, I know.
What if it just closed in a little bit tighter and he was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I watched a film as well, like a climb mountain film, and a fella got caught, and he was caught in a mountain, and he was there for I think like 21 days, something like that.
Oh, 20. The one with when he cut his arm off.
It cut his arm off. Yeah, that is
true story. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it absolutely just
127 hours.
Yeah, I'd probably die because I couldn't cut my arm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and he done it. He done it with a really blunt object, didn't
he? A small little knife about that big.
Yeah. So maybe I could do it. Maybe I don't know, but I wouldn't.
I know, but mate, I think his arm was fractured anyway. So I think he had a very bad fracture, didn't he? Where he trapped it. Yeah. So he was cutting through skin rather than bone. But you just no.
Yeah.
I'd still be there. It'd just be like my skeleton hanging.
Yeah. I think that would be the same for me too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. No, I'm not comfortable with that. And these people are. I wonder because have you ever done scuba diving?
I love scuba diving.
Yeah.
I've done loads of it.
Have you?
Yeah. I hate even the trainer being with me. I like just doing my own thing. I really like scuba diving.
Because I have this thought that in a different way that the sea would make me feel a bit claustrophobic in that sense. If you're underneath.
Yeah.
Was it not more freeing than that? Do you feel like it's like a?
Yeah, it's definitely. I haven't got a phobia of suffocating.
Right.
Yeah? I haven't got that phobia where people struggle to go underwater or do different things. Yeah. I haven't mine is just really tight spaces for some reason. Really tight spaces.
Yeah.
But scuba diving, once you learn how to balance yourself and breathe,
you're off.
You got the freedom of underwater. Do you know what I mean? And there's so much. Like I've always done it in Turkey.
Yeah.
And it's just like clear water.
Yeah, I know. Amazing.
Beautiful, clear blue water. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, phobias are rational, aren't they? I mean, it's not a bad thing that you're scared of tight spaces.
Yeah.
It's only a normal sort of fear and survival instinct not to go there. Because I think I've done a little bit of climbing, And it's that moment where you have to sort of overwhelm your survival instinct to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
But I can't overwhelm my survival instinct for small spaces like that. It's just, no.
Yeah.
Don't want to do it.
Well, I've not been faced with that decision. Do you know what I mean? I've not been faced with that kind of decision, but it's only like through the way I feel when I watch it on telly or something.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one. We've not had that one yet, funny enough. Surprisingly. So if you were going to go to your record player or, Spotify or however you play your music and you press play, what song would you want to come on?
It's really, a James Arthur song.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me get it. Oh, yeah. I think you've said this before. Hold on a minute. Just got to change my sound. Oh, it's on it. Which James Arthur song is it?
Don't Let Go. Is it called Don't Let Go?
I don't know.
Say you won't let go.
Don't let go. Yeah. James, what was it? MacArthur.
Zena to it at the wedding.
How do you spell his name? James Arthur.
Auth.
That's right. Got it. Here we go. It's a ballady one. Say You Won't Let Go.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, Say You Won't Let Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Can you hear that?
No? I can hear it.
Yeah. He did well, though, didn't he, really, coming out of was it X Factor?
He done amazingly well.
Yeah.
Really done.
Got a good voice.
Yeah, excellent voice.
I mean, he suffers from quite a lot of recovery issues, it seems.
Yeah, because he was he said he was homeless. I think the homeless thing for James Arthur was the choice of being homeless because he's got a lot of family, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people the homelessness thing, you get used to that type of life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where you got no responsibility, you got no
Yeah.
Some people, unfortunately, it isn't because it's their fault.
Yeah, it's not a choice.
Some people, it's not a choice. Do you know what I mean? But there is some people that choose to live that way.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, there was a famous guy in Manchester who used to play the guitar outside one of the cinemas. And he had massive, because I used to work with the homeless in Manchester years ago. And the council housed him, but he only stayed in the flat for about a month and then went back on the streets.
Yeah.
He just couldn't cope with the responsibility because I was chatting to him about it. He couldn't cope with the space, the responsibility.
Yeah.
He felt crushed, like the lack of freedom. He felt like he was being pinned down.
After so many years, do you know what
I
mean?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So that's the song that I like.
It's a good choice as well, because the last few podcasts, they've all done Christian ones for this question. It's like, oh, come on.
Have they? I have got, do you know what? I've got loads of Christian...
No, we've got another question coming up about it.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were like, so what's your favourite song? They're like, blah, blah, Christian, blah, blah, Christian. I'm like, come on. I want cheesy pop, guys. I don't want rubbish Christian songs.
Yeah.
That's a classic, though. But as you were growing up, that's a modern one. What was your first sort of steps into...
Romeo and Juliet, Dire Straits.
Oh, what an absolute classic.
Yeah. It is. I grew up listening when I was 13 to James Browne, Dire Straits, just all sorts.
This is a great track, isn't it? I think Dire Straits, like in the 80s, you know, when that big album of theirs came out, they were like overplayed so much.
Yeah.
But absolutely brilliant. Mark Knopfler on the guitar.
What was it? Dark Side of the Moon? Not Dark Side of the Moon. What was it called?
Money for Nothing.
Money for Nothing, yeah. Loads. I used to sit and listen to it as a kid and fall asleep to them. Like, just eating songs over and over again.
Yeah. So it was like James Browne, a bit of funk, a bit of Dire Straits.
Dire Straits. Do you know what I mean? We used to like a little bit of reggae back there, Bob Marley. Lovers Rock. We really, really liked Lovers Rock when we was young.
Lovers Rock. What's that? Is that a song?
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry. Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Just loads of
Let's
old
play this
time.
one. Let's try and find it.
Right, let me try and find it whilst you're there doing it as well.
Is that it? Oh no, that's Robin Hood. That's not it. I love it. It's great. So whereabouts? Because you're from London. So whereabouts in London did you?
I was dragged up in a place called Paddington.
Oh, were you near the train station around that area?
Yeah. So we moved from Cork when I was 2 to Westbourne Park by Ladbroke Grove, and then I remember just a slight brief thing of like sleeping on the floor when we first moved over there.
Yeah.
And then we moved into kind of Paddington Green, which is like off the edge of the road, just off Little Venice. Like I used to walk down Little Venice coming home from school, going up to St Mary's Terrace, which was where we lived in Paddington. And it was great. Do you know what? It's completely different to what it's like now. My mum and dad, at the back of our flats, we had a graveyard. And at the top of the graveyard was our youth centre.
Nice.
So there was just bars and there was a little balcony. We had a little balcony on the back of the flat and we had front. And when you grew up, the hot water and the radiators were part of the flat. It was like these big iron
cast
radiators.
Yeah.
So my dad used to call us in and we'd never come home. He used to come and have to get us because and I'm talking about like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
We'd have to walk through the graveyard. No one was scared of the graveyard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just used to just love the outdoors. It was amazing.
So obviously you've got a very London accent.
Yeah.
Were your parents very Irish then?
There was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. See, when we come over as 2. My brother was born in England, and my sister and myself were born in Ireland.
Right.
So my mum and dad ran away together and got married in St John's Wood in London.
Yeah.
Yeah. My nan and granddad.
Oh, they eloped.
Yeah, my nan and granddad on both sides weren't at that wedding. I got the photographs. There was hardly any family there at all.
Yeah.
The ones that lived in London were there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people there. So they went back to Ireland. My dad worked on the oil rigs and was worked for the electricity company, then the oil rigs, and then he did like a jack of all trade things. So we come to England, and I probably lost my Irish accent very, very early.
But yeah, you've got to adapt very quickly as a kid.
And that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Daisy was the same when we moved down from Manchester, because Daisy was born in Salford. She had a Salford accent. She was like Liam Gallagher.
Yeah.
Like, all right there, Dad, how are you doing? Like this. And then after about 2 weeks of being in Bristol, she said, "Hey, Dad." And I went, "What, Daisy?" She went, "Do you know where my trousers are?" Yeah. She turned into a Bristolian.
Yeah, they do.
You've got to, haven't you? You've got to adapt.
Well, you do. That's just what happens. Do you know what I mean?
What's quite interesting about that is like when the Black Lives Matter stuff happened last year, Ebby from church, who's been on the podcast, she wore a T-shirt, and I think it said "No blacks, no Irish, no dogs."
It says no blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Yeah,
that was the rule in the pubs, restaurants, and do you know what I mean? And the thing about it is, like, I grew up with West Indians and St. Lucians and Jamaicans, and Irish, and that was just like you knew everybody you lived nearby. Do you know what I mean? My brother was a little white boy hanging around with a load of black lads.
Yeah.
And he was the smallest, but one of the most feared for some reason. He was just like capable of looking after himself.
Yeah.
And it was you always felt looked after.
Yeah. That's great.
You know what I mean? There was never this like, for me anyway, there was never this them and us, and there wasn't like.
No. But do you think that was because there was sort of a shared experience? I mean, that T-shirt sort of says it all, the slogan.
Yeah.
But actually, even though you were sort of like culturally maybe miles apart, Irish and Jamaican, but actually being a minority and being an oppressed minority in many ways.
The Irish were oppressed as well.
There
were slave gangs in America of Irish people too. Yeah. And the whatever happened in those countries certainly took place in Ireland.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Oppressed by the British government, and I'm not
talking
about IRA stuff now.
Yeah. I mean, the history of it is just terrible.
Just the old history of it, of your home taken away from you by someone else, and you being forced into labour.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's only from Bristol. How far's Ireland away? 75 miles, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Crazy, isn't it?
We used to always go. Rossley's in Wales, isn't it? Or we used to go from Fishguard to Rossley to Fishguard, whatever it was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's such a rich history though that you've got, because London back then must have been. It's so interesting back then, London.
We only ever went to school, really, in England on our holidays, in our Easter holidays and our Christmas holidays. We was always back in Ireland.
Back in Ireland.
Yeah, my nan would have us for 8 weeks in the summer. We would never go back after 6 weeks to school. We'd always stay for the 8 weeks, because the Irish holidays, they had 8 weeks off. So we used to have 8 weeks. We used to have 4 weeks off for Christmas. And just used to go to my nan's. Like I was saying to Zena the other day, I can remember my mum and dad, but I can remember much more of my nan.
Oh, interesting.
Do you know what I mean? And she was this little Irish woman who was a traditionally a Catholic and really grounded in her faith, where she'd done readings, had a relationship with a priest, all that sort of stuff. Sent us to church. But if we were naughty, she would whack us with a stick. She had no problem in that either.
I suspect, knowing you, that was a daily affair.
we would go out and not come back, and it would like she's one of those, but she was one of those who would love you but rule with an iron fist.
Yeah, I love all this. I think it's, and that in a way, like this podcast, is frivolous in one way, but what I've loved about it all the way through, these little nuggets of gold around. Like last week, it was Nick in Macedonia. He was telling us a bit about Macedonia.
Yeah.
And like your story is so important for us to remember.
Yeah. When we used to be back in Ireland, because we just used to play in the terrace, and back then everybody used to have their front key in the door still.
Yeah.
My nan would say, you need to be in by 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock when, Nan? 12 o'clock at night. And she said, she'd call our names out, and we'd be on the corner playing cards or doing something. Nobody wanted to go home. And we'd come in, she'd make us a cup of tea, and we'd have toast.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to bed, get back up the next morning about 12 and go back out. And
amazing. So like coming back to London then, was that a little bit like Scuba, like having to change your psychology to cope with a metropolis and busy London life?
It was always a bad feeling coming back from our holidays. It was always, we really looked forward to going to Ireland, really hated coming back. But I suppose because of most of our family starts to emigrate from Ireland to England.
Yeah.
Like you'd always have that relationship. Like we was always like I had my nan's mum who was still alive when we was young. She lived in a 3-bedroom flat with her 2 brothers, and my aunt her daughter used to live across the road.
Right.
So and that was my dad's nan and my dad's aunt, and so we'd get sent over there if my dad ever wanted to go out, we'd be babysat by them. We'd have to go shopping for. It was just like another little island, a little island bit in Edgware Road in
It's amazing.
West London, yeah. It was
Oh, I love it, mate. I love hearing about it.
really great upbringing. I read a really.
Oh, Garrett's disappeared. Oh, he's back. You're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying that you had a really great upbringing.
I had a short-lived until I was about 13, and then you know my story.
Yeah.
My dad committed suicide, and then a year later, my mum died of cancer.
Yeah.
And then it was like the world just like
it's chaotic then.
It become horrible. It just become a really horrible place to be in.
Yeah. Ah, what a contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so nice to hear that history. You know, it's such an interesting time of the world life, isn't it? Because I'm just from Warrington. You know, I'm just a northern lad from Warrington. It was safe. You know, I'm white. You know, Dad was a minute. You know, it was like one of the safest upbringings you could ever have.
Well,
so it's so. I know yours was safe, but it's so interesting to hear. You know, the metropolis of London, and then London, Ireland, and so good. Wow. So what do you think you? Here's a question: what do you think you've? You know, your Irish heritage. What does it bring you as Garret? You know, what's the one thing or a couple of things that being Irish and your Irish heritage that makes you and different from other people, do you think?
I think like my thing is that I'm true to my word. Yeah. I'll say what I'm gonna do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I'm reliable and trustworthy, regardless of what my past has been like. Do you know what I mean? I always say to Zena, like I'm a faithful man. I'm a good man. The other, like, I'll never make anybody responsible for what I need to do or what I need to get. Yeah. I always look whatever's around me. I made that happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I made it happen.
I mean, I suppose that's slightly like a honest Irish work ethic, taking responsibility.
Yeah. Just you would have called me back in the old days. He's like a road digger.
Oh yeah. Only you can say that coming from the Irish.
You could have called me a road digger who just went to work, went home, and paid his wage. You know what I mean?
I
mean, that's what I do.
It's good.
That's what I do. If I could only know what I knew today than I did when I was like just getting into crime and stuff like that, is that actually, I know it's a corny saying, but crime doesn't pay.
No,
you have to go out and work for stuff, and now I know. Do you know what I mean? Have an honest living, and other stuff come from that.
And also I think it's that righteous living. It just brings so much calm. It just, the chaos isn't there, is it?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to choose. You've got to be careful who you choose to be part of your life. Yeah. Although I call myself trustworthy, I don't just trust everyone. I don't believe I have to trust everyone.
No, it's wisdom. It's good wisdom.
Yeah, I think I'm in a position in my life where I can choose to have people who I want in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not a needy person. No. I won't have a lot of people around me. I'm just not like that.
No, you're very self-contained. You're very good in a really good way.
Yeah.
You know, you're solid. There's a solidness there, isn't there? Yeah. You know who you are. You know what you want, and you're kind, and you serve, and you volunteer. You've got a really good way of looking at the world, I think. So, all right, next question. What would your spirit animal be? Do you know the idea of a spirit animal?
No.
It's from Native American religion. It's basically, if you were an animal, what animal would you be? It's the same question.
What would I be? What would it be? Probably a fox.
Nice. No one's chosen that one yet. Why a fox?
Because they're shrewd.
Yeah, and really beautiful.
And they've learned to adapt. You don't just see them out in the woods. You see them in and out around and amongst people now. Do you know what I mean?
I think listening to your going home to Ireland and then going back to the urban, you were definitely a fox.
Definitely, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Adapting to the urban landscape and then going home to Ireland and being a fox over there, a country fox and an urban fox. You're both. That's a really good choice. Yeah, they're beautiful animals, actually. Because I'm a while ago now, a couple of years ago, I was coming home and one just popped out of the hedge at Redcatch Park, like an urban one.
Yeah.
And they're a bit stringy, the urban ones, aren't they?
Well, we get them around there. We constantly get them around there. Do you know what I mean? And we're kind of Keynsham bordering fields, but most of Bristol's like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Bristol's really one big farm. And we invaded their land, really.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, but yeah, so...
That's a really good animal. That's a good one, a fox. Yeah, it suits you.
I was going to say like a lion or a cheetah, but I just thought, you know what, I'm only saying that because it sounds good. Yeah.
But I think foxes are cool animals, aren't they?
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, that's a good choice for you. Good choice. So you're not allowed to say Jesus to this question, but because who is your favorite biblical character?
King David.
Okay, good one. That's a new one as well. So why King David? I'm interested.
Because he had to do certain things. Do you know what I mean? Like he trusted and had faith that when his men was hungry, he ate from the altar. He fed them food because they needed to eat. And Jesus later on biblically spoke about that when he was questioned about
fasting on the Sabbath.
The disciples working on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think the word is like pragmatic faith.
Yeah.
So there's food there. It's on the altar. The soldiers
to know
need
God loves you regardless.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was a bit fearless, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, he was.
So yeah. So I like David, and a lot of things stemmed from David, didn't they?
Hugely massive, influential person. From the very start when he was chosen, anointed to stand before Goliath, and then, his story is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
And in the midst of it, what I like about David, he's also a human and he fails.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he fails more than he would definitely be cancelled today in our culture.
Yeah.
He marries he has an adulterous affair with somebody and then he murders the husband. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah.
But that was the world he was in then. That was a brutal world, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yet, when he was asked to repent, he had the integrity to get down on his knees. And
he got honest about stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did, But yeah, King David would be my spiritual hero.
So when 13 years ago recovery, did you become a Christian like 13 years ago, or?
You know what? I was a Catholic before I became a Christian, and earlier on in my first years of recovery, I went to like Catholic church.
Yeah, nice.
And I had both. Jordan got christened in the army barracks in Cork.
Oh.
Because his grandfather was in the army. And Reese and Charlie got christened in a Catholic church too.
Yeah.
So I used to go to church religiously though.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't believe I'm religiously doing anything. I'm doing it because I like doing it and I believe it's cool to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it took me until I was about 6 years clean and sober in Bristol. And like people used to irritate me when they used to talk about Christ. They used to always tell them to go away. Do you know what I mean? And somebody who I kind of had a friendship with back then always used to bug me about it. But it just I believe God likes you freely to come to him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what happened to me eventually.
Well, I think it's the most impactful way in the sense of when that happens, it's like you've got ownership of your faith then. It's not some top-down culture or
Yeah.
tradition or ritual. When you come like you came, it means it's yours, so it's meaningful to you.
So in recovery, I'm what you're classed as the educational variety, which I learned by mistake and I'm slow to learning kind of thing.
Okay.
But in my Christian walk, I believe that I had a profound experience. Like I was in a house, and I was just really always negative about any Christianity or any challenge in what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I was going through a difficult period, and like I just had this voice in my head say to me, "Ask them what their God means."
Oh, amazing.
And that's what happened. And I spoke to someone, and like something shifted and changed for me. And that was my start on my journey. Then me coming to the church, your church, getting baptized, and becoming part of the Nazarene Church.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? That's interesting. So the question that you got in your head was what? Ask them what God means to them. Is that what you said?
Yeah, just ask them. Ask them, let them speak to you. Stop denying them about what they want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't be so hesitant to listen. And
well, again, the interesting thing about that, Garrett, it's you going to them rather than them talking to you.
Yeah, I was really prideful when they questioned me about my faith, because I believed in something I didn't really have a lot of faith in.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And what I practiced as a Christian was not a lot.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
So, it's a nominal faith.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been a Christian, I've always been some kind of Bible study or some kind of like little movement in Christianity to learn. Do you know what I mean? So I've always felt that I am a Christian.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? But as a Catholic, I didn't really know what it meant to be.
Yeah. No, it was just more of a lifestyle rather than a faith.
It's like it was a religious thing, and it was like like if my work was going to save me, and my work was never going to save me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it was my salvation through Christ.
And obviously the 12 steps as well has a massive influence over him. He's always in the Oxford group. And so the 12 steps in and of themselves are, I mean, I've said this to you and I've said to other people in recovery that we know. I think non-recovery Christians should do the 12 steps. It's a discipleship program, isn't it? To get you closer to God ultimately.
Yeah.
The confessions, the amends, just it clears it. It's like purify my heart. Let me be like gold and silver. I mean, the 12 steps is like a purifying process, isn't it?
It is. And from my own understanding around it, if you seek God with the earnestness of what they call a drowning man, you'll have this more fruitful experience. But we have to have it that it's a God of their own understanding, so people can get clean and sober, hopefully to stay clean and sober, to have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are hesitant around the word Christ. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Which really isn't like something that you'll flag straight away to someone. Do you know what I mean? People have to come to God by themselves.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But there's a lovely framework there to work with people and to care for people and to show your love for Jesus within that in a very lovely way, so that they don't just see words, they see action as well, isn't it? So that's powerful. It's a powerful entry point for people. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, then. That's a great answer, King David. Thank you. So have you got a favorite worship song, something that is really special to you?
The one that got sung to us on our wedding day.
Oh, yeah.
It's just completely gone out of my head.
Francesca sang it, didn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, the dee da da. Wasn't it that one? Thingy Bob of Love. La la la.
It's just gone out of my head. Sorry. I've been really...
It is. Oh. Di da di da di da 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 da. That one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Matt, right there. Oh.
Oh, the never-ending, always thingy bobbing love of God. Oh no, let me type it.
Gone out of my head.
That's so funny. I know it, but Hillsong.
Who sang that again?
It was Hillsong, wasn't it, or Bethel? Oh, oh no, we're so bad at this. You'll find it. You'll find it. You'll find it. Let me put Hillsong in, and I'm out in my Spotify, and then it'll come up. It might not be Hillsong. It might be Bethel. And when God says the word,
yeah, that's it. Over and reckless love of God.
That's it. It's so special to you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I'll put it on.
I didn't properly listen to it, although I thought what an amazing song she sang. And as time went on, it just become just one of those things where we actually...
Again, I think Hillsong and Bethel, their melodies and their musicianship has been amazing the last few years. It really makes your heart swell, doesn't it?
Yeah, he talks about leaving the 99 to go and save the one, and that's what it felt like me.
Yeah.
He went and come and got me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really do love that song, amongst other stuff. Do you know, you wouldn't believe one of my greatest songs is an Irish song sung by the Furies, and it's Willie McBride. Well, I've got the disc in my car. I always, like my uncle, my dad's brother, was an amazing Irish singer. Absolute stunning. Do you know what I mean? With one patch over his eye, a beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. It was great. So yeah. So it's the.
I think that one is great. Oh, they overwhelming. And is that part of your testimony? Would you say when they sing that overwhelming sense of God presence?
Yeah.
99, and God looks after gone after you and sought you out.
So part of my testimony will be that I felt truly saved, and I felt all right always in His presence. And when anything come against me, I always turn to Him.
Yeah.
And I still do. Do. Do you know what I mean? When there's ever anything going on in my marriage, it's like we've got to turn to Christ more.
Yeah.
Work.
Family.
Because I often would think to myself, how could you ever be as scared of anything when you've got a God so big like that? And you certainly don't need to defend Him.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a lovely thought, mate. I love that.
Yeah.
I know.
So it's just...
Well, that's so funny because it's so true what you say. I've been going through a period of like self-reflection now. Now I'm 50, obviously. And
you're older than me, are you?
No, you're a little bit older than me. And one of the things that I've been really challenging myself on is that about this feeling of protecting God's name or defending God, or and it's a completely fruitless exercise, because who am I to defend God?
He's too big.
He's undefendable. It's God. Why am I this little warrior trying to protect the king. He's the
I
king.
mean, it definitely, and it's so evident in his walk when he come to this world that
Yeah,
he didn't need to be protected, and he just turned the other cheek and allowed people because
I
he's
know.
too big.
Well, there's that great bit just a week before the cross where he's with Pilate, and Pilate says something to him, and he basically says, "I'm rubbish at like quoting verbatim," but he says, "You've got no authority here." Jesus says to Pilate, "This is God's will.
Mm,
If you think you've got a choice in this matter, it's like type thing."
mm.
I mean, what in like the face of the Roman Empire? Like you've got no authority over me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like what?
It had been written. It's in it. It had written.
Yeah,
It was going to happen. Nothing was ever going to get in the
yeah,
way.
yeah. Like who the heck do you think you are, Pontius
Yeah.
Pilate? I'm the son of God. This is going to happen either way you like it or not. So
We was having a talk about it the other day because I do this like Christian thing on a Thursday night with a group of lads.
yeah,
Yeah. Like I'm mindful after listening to a couple of things that when he says he's done on the cross, it is done.
yeah,
Yeah. So like God made man, he told him not to eat from the tree, and the man sinned, yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
he's not God. I ain't got the same power as God, and he sinned through choice.
yeah,
God gave him the choice not
yeah,
to.
yeah. Free will, of course.
Yeah. So over many years of having like other Christians in this world to try and teach other human beings to be Christians was like pointless because they were always going to fail. So what
Yeah,
he needed to do is come down as himself,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Live that perfect
show
life.
everybody he can live without sin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then he dies on the cross and says, "Look, see, it's done." Later. But then he understands only he can do that. And do you know what I mean? So we've got some forgiveness knowing that it was never going to be him.
yeah. It's incredible, isn't it? I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome, mate. I love that. Yeah, yeah. I like it. Good, good. So, just to move on, what is your favorite film?
What kind of film?
Comedy, horror, thriller?
Oh, Scarface.
Is it? Good choice.
Mm.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Why Scarface? It's a good film.
It was just really, really applicable back in the day. It was
Were
one of
you
those
Tony toting the machine gun?
Tony Montana, political refugee from Cuba.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I think everybody likes a bit of Tony Montana.
Oh yeah,
RN.
exactly.
But you also was just like the character, the brazenness and the fearlessness of the character. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
But if I ever go back, films were much funnier back then. Do you know what I mean? Were much better back then, and they probably weren't. If you look at them, you think, "Oh my god, I
yeah,
really
yeah,
like
yeah.
that film."
But at the time, in the
You
culture,
know, like me and my brother watched the film when we was young together, and our parents were still alive, and it was called 10. Yeah,
what was it
Dudley
called?
Moore, 10.
Oh, Dudley Moore
Dudley
10.
Moore,
Yeah,
and like
classic.
he's
I
in
don't
this
reckon you could watch that now.
in this room, and this old lady is walking through really slowly with this tray, and she passes wind. And back then, it was so hilarious; it
Yeah,
killed us for days.
yeah, yeah.
And like we talk about it, but now you look at it, you think, "Oh my god, was that really funny back then?"
No, but it was at the time.
Yeah, just so there you go.
Because I really used to love the Bing Crosby and Bob Hope films. You know, The Road to.
Yeah,
Road to
yeah.
Mandalay, Road to Bali, Road to this, Road to that. Oh, mate, if you watch that now, they'd be dog awful. They would be rubbish. I
Yeah,
bet
no,
you.
'cause
I bet you couldn't get through one.
I used to like the old pirate films, the black
Oh,
and white
yeah.
ones, or the war films in the ships, black and white. I used to love all of that when I was a
Yeah.
kid. But you look at it now and think, wow, they were really not really that good. Do you know what I mean?
No,
It's what we had at the time, wasn't it?
it
We'll
was.
probably look back in another 20 years, looking at what we had today,
Oh,
think,
yeah.
remember we used those phones, and those phones are really good today.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I know. I think in the future it'll be such more of like an immersive experience, like you're actually in it.
Yeah.
You know, like with the VR goggles, but it'll literally be like you're in the film. It'll be a full immersive thing.
Yeah.
You know. No, I love the old films. I do, but when you watch them now, they are not so good.
No.
Good choice, though. What's the film you've watched the most, just as a side question, that you've watched on repeat, that you would watch again and again?
Oh. I'm not really a person who watches a lot of telly when he's normally doing stuff.
Yeah.
Only because COVID, I don't really like watching the same film again.
No, I don't. I'm with you. I tend to watch them once and that's it.
I can't think of one that I'd repeat.
Yeah.
Scarface.
I've got a couple, but I'm with you. Once I've seen a film, I don't tend to watch them again for a long, long time. I enjoy the moment and I love the moment. I tried to watch Lord of the Rings during lockdown, the new ones. Couldn't watch it. But at the time, I thought they were absolutely amazing at the time.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings films. But watching them again, I can't do it. No. Awesome, good choice. Scarface goes into the podcast. Very good. I like that. That's a good one. What do you love the most about church?
What I love most about the church is the fellowship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the fellowship of
that community feel, that togetherness.
Yeah, like like church as in church open, like when we come together and we put on a meal for the elderly or we're doing something, it's that involvement, doing other things with people for other people.
Yeah.
Or
it's so beneficial.
Making the church look nice. I know you've done a really good job painting, but you had a really good teacher. I
did actually. So I've learned so much of you helping me out this time.
It's the whole unity, fellowshipping, like doing things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think faith without action is not faith at all.
Well, it will be all the same people doing the same things all the time, though, isn't it?
The same all the time in any. It's the 20% looking after the 80%. It's almost pretty much.
But it's being part of that. Being part of that you go in each week and you're part of other things happening.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. Yeah. It's like a little tribe, a little community. We think like each other, well, in the sense of faith, like we believe in something together. Yeah. There's a real togetherness and a coherence to that, and it's like it's well formed, and then you can serve each other. Because like yesterday, we took Mother's Day's cards around. Zena's going to get one in the post, but we got to try to get around as many as we could. Me and Heather yesterday, and we sat in the car for an hour and a half, but it was great.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about us, it was about serving other people.
Yeah.
And it was, and Heather went, instead of doing church this morning, she went off and did about 4 or 5 that we couldn't get to yesterday.
Are we going to ask Colin Barkley when is he going to get married then?
No comment, not on this public podcast. Yeah. Well, we'll get that done. We'll that'll be good. That'll be a good wedding.
I pray he sees this.
Well, on that note, we'll move on. So, I love that answer, though. I really do. I just think that faith without action, that faith with action is so potently good. I totally agree. So, Garrett, a couple of questions that are not so serious. So if you inherited a lot of money or won the lottery, what would you and look, you can be as selfish as you want to be, okay? You don't have to be all nice and Christian about this question. No. What would you do if you inherited a barrel load of money or won the biggest lottery draw in the history of lotteries?
I've always had thoughts of if I ever win it, because I often think I am going to win it one day.
Yeah, positive mental thinking. Me like this.
I do think of what I'm going to do for other people. Do you know what I mean? I certainly want my family to be without any stress. It'd be nice to do something for the church and people that ain't fortunate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do. I do think about doing things and fill people with money. So, yeah, it's one of those, like, I'd look after my family to make sure they're okay, and then I'd start doing things for others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really okay. So that's great. I love it. Amen and amen. But would you get yourself a luxury item? Is there something that you've always wanted, but you've never been able to afford?
You will always, if you even asked Cena this, yeah, I wanted something just really easy, and what I've got, I've paid for it myself. I've got my own home. I'm not really bothered about fancy cars. I've got a watch I don't like wearing because it does my head in. Yeah, I've got loads of clothes I never wear because I never go anywhere. So there's not a lot. I mean, one day I said, by the time I get a 52, I really want a nice car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And what's a really nice car to you? What would that be?
like a Range Rover.
Oh yeah. Nice choice, good choice. Yeah,
Yeah,
solid.
something like that. Do you know
Something
what I mean?
you need a chairlift to get out of. I meant a stair lift. You know, a stanner.
Well, you probably would, but no, I'll be all right.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I'm not materialistic in the sense I'd want a big castle and a Ferrari, but it would be nice to have a quality car, you know, and home security. I think. I mean, no, I don't mean home security.
Look, I eventually, if there was a lot of money bought, I'd like to buy a big house with a bathroom in each room. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
We
yeah,
could
yeah.
on and go on with our thought process around that.
Yeah.
But if I just keep it simple, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'd just like to see everybody own their own home. Do you know what
Do
I mean?
you think your 20-year-old self would answer that question differently?
No, because I would have wanted a lot more drugs that I could get my hands on back then.
Tony?
Yeah, I would want to run an empire. Yeah, on the click of a finger, I'd have people shot. I don't think deep down I was ever a Tony Montana.
No. I don't think so either.
Yeah.
That's a good answer, though. Yeah, I like that. No, I do. I agree. I've said it before. What I would like to do is go around the world following the major sporting events. So, you know, going to the golf in America, cricket in Australia.
I couldn't think of doing anything more boring than that. But
yeah. But you know what I mean? That'd be my luxury thing with my family, and just to see the world, but have a reason to go around the world.
No, it sounds cool.
Yeah. So I think that'd be cool. And then big house, car, help people definitely as well. So, all right, it's your final meal, and it can either be it's 3 courses, and we want your final meal that you're ever gonna have, you know. And so, what would
be my favourite verse in the Bible?
Oh, do you want to do that one? I always miss that one out.
It's cool. It's John 3:16.
Which is what?
For God so loved the world.
That's probably the only one I know off by heart.
Oh, it's the only one I do. So that's fine. I've got a key ring with it on it.
Oh, that's why it's so important to you. Yeah.
And I had to be loved.
No, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why that's one of the, if not the most famous scripture in the whole world. You know, at the football matches in the streets, whatever, John 3:16. And also it sounds cool as well, doesn't it? John 3:16. There's something really like rhythmical about the whole thing. Like if it was John 1:15, it would sound a bit crap.
But John 3:16. Yeah,
it does, doesn't it?
Thing to it, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe God put it there on purpose. Oh, that's a good one, John 3:16. But no, I think, you know, there is a reason why that one rises to the top in everybody's thinking. For God so loved the world, he sent his only begotten son, you know, that we will be set free from sin and have eternal life. And if
you put your trust in him.
Yeah. It's incredible. And it's one line. I mean, I always think this about that literature. These people aren't authors. They're not poets. You know, John who wrote that, he's just a person from Israel, the Middle East. And yet they end up writing these words that in Aramaic, whatever it is, that are just absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful.
Yeah.
That honestly, I think that about like the Bible, you know, like that. They're just Galilean people. They're just fishermen. And yet they come out with these sentences about who God is, what God is. You just think, what?
I often do ponder, how comes he wasn't born in Cornwall?
Cornwall?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Cornwall?
You don't like the cold weather.
Well, I've heard he's not a very good bodyboarder. No, well, I think it's just all the way around the people of God, isn't it? And the promises.
Yeah.
So Jerusalem was like ground zero, isn't it, for the Jewish culture? So that it was going to be all around there. So that's really amazing. Yeah,
it's
great
mad
script.
because it's one of the scariest places to live on the earth.
Now it is,
Palestine, all of that, isn't
it? Yeah. I've never been. I'm not that fussed. I mean, some people really want to go and walk in the steps of Jesus and do all that. And I think it would be, with the right group of people, an amazing experience. But I've never really been driven to go. I think because...
do you know what we'll do? We'll put it on the lottery deal.
Yeah.
We'll have that.
All right, yeah. Let's do that. All right, then. So your 3-course meal, what would your starter be?
My starter would be ribs, spare ribs.
Nice. Chinese spare ribs or barbecue?
Barbecue, whatever. Like some nice thick old pork things.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
They are one of the most satisfying things to eat in the world. Like,
the ones that you don't have to really bite off the bone; they just sliver off the bone.
Oh yeah.
We had them down in by Hyde Park with my uncle, my godfather, and my cousin once. They're just, you can really go through a lot of them.
Yeah. No, I just think, for me, they're one of the most satisfying things to eat. It's mucky. It's like, you're like Henry VIII, like, I love eating spare ribs. I'm getting hungry just thinking about them.
Me too.
Nobody said that one yet. Nobody said that. Love it. Main course then. What's your main course?
Steak and chips and peas and mushrooms. Steak, peas, chips and mushrooms. Yeah.
Steak done. How would you have your steak?
I'd have it well done.
Yeah.
I don't like rare steak.
Yeah, I'm a rare, but yeah, well done.
I know it was properly killed and cooked.
Yeah. No, I think if you go to a restaurant and you get a really, really good quality steak, it is delicious, isn't it? I mean, you can make your own at home and they're good, but if you go to a restaurant, it's a nice whatever sirloin fillet, T-bone, and a good chef has cooked it. Oh, I am getting hungry now. And have you got a sweet tooth?
Cheesecake.
Yes! You're in. You've made it. That's the right answer.
When are we going for a meal then?
Soon. April the 12th. Cheesecake Emporium.
Yeah.
I love cheesecake too. That is my favourite dessert.
Yeah.
It's not too... I mean, obviously you can have really sweet ones, but there's something about a cheesecake.
I had a bit of cheesecake today with some Lidl's cherry yogurt.
Oh, nice.
Poured over it. It's really nice.
So you'd have ribs and you'd have steak and you'd have a cheesecake. Awesome. I love it, mate. I love it. That's a great choice. Yeah, really good. So the final question, because we've just hit the hour mark. Obviously, COVID has been crazy this year. I'm just trying to be optimistic a week before the year anniversary, just to sprinkle a bit of optimism. What has been positive about COVID? What changed for you, or what's changed for the best or good during COVID? The answer might be nothing, and that's legitimate. But is there something you want to hold on to into the future?
I don't really know. I don't really know because, although I said I haven't been here, there, or anything, I've always been a person who's quite strong-willed and content with himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But maybe it might be the position it's put me and Zena in, where times have become really difficult.
Yeah.
And we went through a really, really difficult period, but we've been able to come out of it.
Good.
Just like maybe to not
like a testing ground.
Yeah, like to how much people can be controlling with each other, wanting the better for each other, but reality is the more of letting go,
Yeah,
and just being okay and trusting.
and do you feel like COVID has given you time to get off the hamster wheel of life and then be able to cope with those moments and work through them because you've got space and you've got time?
Yeah, it's definitely like back us in a position where we got to spend time doing things.
Yeah.
So it really made us appreciate the TV.
Yes.
Seriously. Because, like, I think without the TV, without the internet, and all the stuff, all the gadgets we've managed to have in life,
I know.
Yeah, it could be pretty much.
Oh wow.
Tolerating it could be.
Although I did think about this the other day, chatting to somebody. But if there was no TV and there was nothing like that, then we would have a world, where people were happy pushing kicking a brick around the road, or
We weren't allowed to be around other people, so
yeah, it would have been
I think you know what? Maybe a lot more books would have been sold
in the past.
Yeah, if we never had TVs and computers, then we would have because in prison,
yeah,
I've read loads of books.
Yeah, which was an enforced isolation
because
nothing else to do.
But out here is
different distraction.
I've read one or two books.
Yeah, there's just different distractions outside, isn't it? But in prison, that's a whole nother 2-hour podcast that we can go on to later on.
Some of it was funny, some of it wasn't so funny.
Yeah, I know. You're great with it. No, okay. Yeah, so it's just giving you a bit of time, bit of space to deal with the ups and downs, the movement in a relationship, and just to get closer to Xena and just try and work it through. Whereas pre-COVID, you'd have been busy at work, busy at life, busy with the family, busy with everything, busy with church, busy with community, and trying to just find a little slot for that to happen, I suppose. Yeah. No, that's good. Good. Well, Garrett, we could talk all night, me and you. But unfortunately, this podcast is coming to an end.
Okay.
We've run out of questions.
Really, really, really nice being on there doing that with you, Matt.
No, it's amazing, isn't it? It's nice. Like we were saying before we came on, where do I get space to sit with you for an hour and just chit chat about nothing and everything? I love it. Yeah. So thank you, Garrett. I'll press stop on the record in a minute. You don't have to go away. But thank you, Garrett. Thank you for being with us. And hopefully we'll see you in the flesh at church very soon. Thank you, mate.
Teddy bye-byes, everyone. Teddy
bye. See you, Garrett.